Unfortunately, we're going to have to move back and forth between our polenta and our grits. Our polenta we're going to do in 2 stages. We are going to make it, and then we're going to tray it up, and we're going to see if we can't get it to set. The reason we're going to try and get it to set is that we're going to sauté it. We're going to cut it into squares, or triangles, or hearts, or stars, or whatever shape you feel like doing. It will set, and I like squares and triangles because you don't have any waste with it. You can cut them right to the edges, makes it work pretty well. This one is my grits pan. No, I'm sorry, we're doing polenta first. This one. How many people have made grits? Okay. You'll see that this recipe is almost the exact same thing. In this pot, we just have water. We are going to add about 2 tablespoons of salt. Always salt your product first. If you try and salt it afterwards, you end up with a gritty product. Well, you'll get it salty enough, but you'll end up with a gritty taste to it. It won't dissolve into the product. If you dissolve it in water first, and we're going to cover that one to keep it on there. If you dissolve it into the water first, the water then absorbs into the product, and you get salt flavor from that. If you try and add it to it afterwards, it just coats the outside of it, and it may not break down as well. Okay. Let me open this up. We are going to add these to them. And it's one of those things where you want to add them and stir them. And they're going to cook pretty quickly. And they should absorb all this water. As we go. That's all right, we'll make it work. That's why I cook and not bake. We can always make it work. You saw what happened to Larry that day when he tried to bake. Not my style. Actually, what we're going to do is grab a whisk for this. You can see how thick that's starting to get already. It doesn't take very long. It's just a matter of cooking the water into it. It's kind of like instant oatmeal. As soon as you add water to it, it's going to start to thicken. And you'll see once it all gets incorporated and all the loose water gets mixed into it, as I stir it, it's going to start to pull away from the sides, and that's what we're looking for. That grits pan's killing me. It's a bad thing when you're working about 2 pots. This one's giving me a steam facial every time I try and leave over. It should not be once I get it mixed down. There's still a lot of water through the outside of this. And then once we put it on our pan, we're going to smash through it. To kind of smooth it out. Notice the resemblance to grits. Kind of the same thing, just a brighter yellow. Okay, as I'm starting to stir this, if you can notice, it's starting to pull together a little bit. It's kind of following the whisk around. It's holding shape in the pan a little bit. That's about what you want. It's almost starting to pull together. This is almost done. And because we're going to recook this, we're about to pull this off. Now, we're going to turn this heat off, and we're going to slide it back. We have our Parmesan and our herbs. Now, this herb packet we have downstairs in our produce department, it's called a poultry blend. It comes with thyme, sage, and rosemary all in one pack. Okay? The reason I like this pack is because it gives you a little bit of a lot of things. If you were to buy each of these separately, you'd end up with a whole lot of herbs you'd have to find something else to do with. Whereas this, now I have half the pack left, half of 1 pack left, instead of 3/4 of 3 packs. Okay? You may not want to use sage or something else, but you could actually use more of the rosemary and the thyme. Let's just still get 1 pack for this. Now we are using fresh herbs, so we don't need quite as much. We're going to add them in, and we're going to add a whole lot of cheese to it. Because we can. We don't need that. And again, we're just going to mix that down. Rubber spatula, we can get it away from the edges. It's this handle that keeps catching the microphone. Now, with this, you can see it's almost starting to shape. I bet if I were to pick that up and squeeze it into a ball, I could get it to hold in whatever shape I decided to make it in. Now, the polenta itself will do that, but by adding cheese to it, it's going to help that dramatically. Get the rest of this mixed together. And you can see with the cheese in it, I don't know if you can see or not, it's actually starting to lighten in color. It's going from that real deep yellow color to something that's a little bit lighter. Naturally, that'll happen with white cheese. But as I'm stirring this, see how it's not sticking to the outside edges anymore? As I'm going around, it's starting to pull together and hold shape. Now, the only thing you have to watch for is like right through the center of this. That's all large clump of cheese. We want to make sure that gets stirred completely through. Mostly because when you cut it and you start to saute it, if you have some amount of cheese that large, that's going to be the first thing to burn. So that will brown and burn long before the rest gets ready. Okay, that all pulled away. I have 2 cookie sheets back here. We're going to split this up on them. Now this is almost sliding right out of our pan. And the reason I'm just going to split it up is because I want it to set, and I know that the thinner any product is, the faster it will do what I want it to when it comes to cooling and to setting. You could very well put this all in one pan and it will work just the same. However, like I said, I want this to work a little quicker than normal, so we're going to make it thinner. Now, take your rubber spatula, and you want to spread it out and keep it as consistent as possible, because when you go to recook this or re-saute it or re-deep fry it, if you have one part that's real thick and one part that's real thin, you're going to get a really dry, hard, nasty piece and a part that's not quite done. Now, this is a fully cooked product, so you can even eat it cold just out of the pan, or we could eat it just like this. And I'm going to try and keep this as square as I can in this pan, so they'll be able to get the most out of it. Okay. I'm just going to turn around and set them on this cold counter behind me. They don't have to get real cold to set up. I can probably start to pick them up now. See how it's almost kind of like Play-Doh or Silly Putty? I could almost cut that right now. Let's try it. And it'll hold enough of a shape to where we could work with it if we had to. So we could use that right now. Now, naturally, you wouldn't want to fry that right now because it would break apart on you because it's too soft. But we could work with it in a saute pan. We're going to put that in the pan when we start to saute it.
Okay.
And you can use any form of oil. I just prefer olive oil. It's an Italian style. I figured why not. We have all of our seasoned oils. I could use any of those because they are all herbs. We made oils a few weeks back, and we have a garlic and a thyme and a lemon and a rosemary. Any of those oils would work to saute this product in because all of those ingredients are already in it as well. Okay? Now with this, as you're using a knife, make sure you don't cut hard through it, nothing worse than scratching your cookie sheets. So you want to kind of gently do it all the way across, and that cut that clean that quickly, right? I'm going to cut these in rather large squares, and we're going to fry them up, and then we'll go back down and we'll cut them a little smaller. And like you can see, they hold their shape, okay? And the way we're going to do these is we're going to take the bottom side and we're going to put it in the pan first. And the reason we're going to do that is the top isn't perfectly smooth. And when we put it on our plate, we want a really pretty side up, okay? And that'll give us a nice, pretty, even golden brown side. Whereas if we tried to saute this side first, it would brown evenly, but you're still going to get the imperfections. Now, there's nothing wrong with imperfections, and they work very well. If you were to do this thicker, if you wanted to deep fry it, you would want to double the thickness of it. Something about that thick, okay? And your imperfections are perfect for it. We're going to add about half our butter. It's getting there. We're going to put some oil in there. And while that's getting ready, I'm going to get this other one cut. This is starting to sizzle a little bit. We're going to lay these in here. You can put as few or as many in there as you're comfortable dealing with. I'm going to fill the pan. And I'm going to move all these over to one, because as they come out, we're going to put them back on this pan, and I'll let Jessica take them in the back once we're ready. And with our other plate, we're going to do the exact same thing where we're going to pair the two together. And this one you want a little bit more liquid. And you want to go right in the center of your plate with it. And as this fries up, we're actually going to stand it up on top of it. So you mix the two flavors together. And these, once they get frying, don't take very long. We're going to take that one out. And I'm going to take this odd shaped one out and show you with this plate up here. See how hard it is to cut now? Before it was very simple. That's actually got a crust on the outside of it, which is what you're looking for. And I know I'm cutting on my pan and I shouldn't, but I'm being gentle.
It's not your pan, don't worry about it.
No, unfortunately it is.
Oh, is it really?
And we're going to stand them up. And now we have all of our chopped parsley. Okay?